Well, this has been a good week for me and for Dino as well, I'm sure. Um, and there's been a lot of posts online with all sorts of things, and I could come up just before. I'm enjoying. I must admit, I'm enjoying LinkedIn much more than Facebook right now. There's more interaction and there's more fun happening. And so, with that, I saw an interesting post today about someone's posted about their grandmother and what their grandmother said, right? And it made me think about something that my grandmother once said. I mean, my grandmother was very wise in her day, right? And she said, "For every pot, there's a lid," right? So there's always someone out there for you. And I found that people are so desperate to find a relationship, right? Instead of just like letting things flow. So I think today we'll talk about how things just flow and how we come up with posts and why do you come up with those posts? Is it something happening in your life at that moment, or are you just feeling it, or you're just flowing with whatever's happening around you? My name's Carina. But you know that already breaks your fun freedom. And of course, how awesome co-host Dino. How you doing, Dino?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great, thank you. So what do you think about posting, and why do you post things? And the free flow of stuff, of the way life works, right? Just the flow of life.
It's tremendous amounts of information. Some more compelling than others at times, but you know what? I got to admit, some of these posts that are funny or just completely random with no hidden meaning or agenda behind them are really entertaining. You know, it's you have to pick and choose what you want to post. There's, you know, some that'll post anything funny or they'll share things. There are other people that'll post things that are consistent with their message or their mission. You know, there's no right or wrong way, but this lid for every pot, are you talking like a romantic thing? What are you talking about?
So she used to say, like, because a lot of people go like, "Oh, come on, you know, I've had all these broken relationships. When am I going to find the one, you know, like the one that I can connect with and talk to, and that we can have this romantic life together?" And so she'd always say, "Well, there's always a lid for every pot. So there's wherever you go, he's out there or she's out there, right? You just somehow the universe or God will connect you, okay?" And then like that's the way she thought. And a lot of people will say, "Well, you know, you have to do something," but do you really? So I don't know why that came into my head, but that just came into my head. So what do you think about that?
Okay, so if you go into the romance thing, you're asking the wrong person because I don't have a clue. But I will tell you this, you know, it's not the old days anymore. It's not your grandmother's world. And people, you know, they interact and stuff, you know, face to face and stuff, and they enjoy each other's company, and you'll meet somebody, I'm sure. But most times now that I'm finding, especially being on it, is people interact on these social platforms. It's basically what you believe is their face, filtered or unfiltered, by the way.
Neither filtered.
Yeah, and or over filtered, I will say. And then, you know, what they say, it could be, you know, a completely, you know, false facade as far as you're concerned. But I'm finding that a lot of people will fall in love with the image that's on this social platform. You don't know anything about the person. You don't know anything about their likes or what they do after the post or the picture or the over-filtered image that they've just posted. Yet people are just like, it's almost like seductive. It just like kind of sucks you in to the point where you get some people that actually get mad when you post or when you like somebody else's post. It's like, what are you doing? You're cheating on me. And this is just the strangest thing. But I'm not going to call it shallow because it is a new world. It is a new way that we communicate. And, full confession, one of my marriages was from the dating website eHarmony. This was years ago. This wasn't eHarmony now. I don't know what's out there. I don't even care. But at the time, it was, hey, put down your likes, answer honestly, tell me what you think of. I mean, just a series of very intricate, detailed questions, I thought, anyway. And it took me 2 or 3 hours to fill this thing out, this questionnaire. And I'm like, all right, I answered honestly, and then it says, hit here to see your match. And it spins. And it says, we're sorry, at this time, there's nobody that matches up with you. You know what I mean? And I was like, what? So, it took about a couple of weeks to actually find some matches. And because I was so specific, I said, be specific, be honest, they weren't really like next door. They were like in many states away. So you deal with that. You deal with all kinds of things. I think the best things come when you're not really looking, and the best things come when you're not trying so hard. Truly, I'm not looking, but you come across some situations, and you're just like, oh, But if you're trying so hard, sometimes the right person just passes you by. Some people go for just looks. Some people go for just financial stability. I mean, I'm the wrong guy to give advice on this stuff. Okay. But what do you think? I mean, you've been on social platforms long enough. I mean, longer than I have anyway.
I always remember a friend of mine who we were at school, one of my first friends, we were at school together. And we grew up, and one of the one thing she always wanted was to find someone and get married. That's all she ever wanted in her life, really. I mean, we went to university together and whatever. And it was always funny that she could never find anybody. It was like she'd have relationships, but she'd never find anyone. And I always thought to myself, it was because she was trying so hard, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually when she said, you know what? She sent me a text because she's a friend of mine. She lives in Athens, right? Quite. So she sent me a text once. She said, you know what? I've had enough. It was quite a long time ago. I've had enough. I'm not looking anymore. I don't care. And of course, as life has it, someone waltzed into her life and she fell in love and they got married and she was happy. I mean, there's a twist to the story, but that's another story. It's not part of this.
Yeah.
That's my belief all the time. It's always been like that. So maybe what I'm thinking about my grandmother, it's a bit romantic. Like when the right person comes, they'll come into your life. They'll be brought into your life in one way or another, right? Without you looking for it. So you just carry on your life accordingly. And then finally the lid will come, if that's how it's meant to be, right?
Right. You never know. You never know. I mean,
you never know.
And this incredible rush to, I mean, it happens to guys, I'm sure, too. It's not just a woman thing. So let's make that clear. But, this incredible rush to just be married, just have that title, right? Want to be married. What does it represent? I mean, growing up for me represents stability, family, safe, all the things that you think in your head, whether they're true or not, right?
Yeah.
From my track record, it's not really that way. A piece of paper doesn't keep people together.
No.
A piece of paper doesn't keep people safe. And just having kids for the sake of having kids doesn't keep a marriage or a family together. It's more than that. I still believe in marriage. I still believe in love. I still am old fashioned and all that stuff, but unrealistic expectations about it. Those days, at least for me, are over. Having a ring on somebody's finger isn't going to magically change them. If they had that, like my grandmother would say, the wandering eye, if they had that before the ring, chances are they're still going to have that.
Obviously.
But I also believe that people change. I really do. And some people are like, oh, once they're like this, they're always like that. I don't have the answer for that one. But I will say that unrealistic expectations will always, not even in relationships, but anything, will always lead to disappointment.
Yes.
And so, get married because you love the person. You get married because you can't be without them, or you have those unexplainable feelings that, like it hurts to be apart, that kind of stuff. But it's more than just surface stuff. It's commonality and similarities and backgrounds and upbringing. I'm not being a snob or anything like that, but it's just things that you're both used to. That also plays a part. Your vision for future stuff. I mean, somebody might be a visionary and somebody else may not. I mean, you don't want to fix each other.
No.
It has to be complementary, and it's both ways, right? So that the thing your grandmother said is actually pretty good. And again, anybody listening, do not take my advice on anything on this subject because I'm just saying. But it's quite fascinating. It's not just like that with romantic relationships. It's really like that with any type of relationship, a friendship. It could be like that with a business associate or business partner, an affiliate, things like that. It's, on a business level, I know exactly who fits and who doesn't fit in my business world and vision. Exactly. And I don't, I'm not shy about vocalizing it either. I'm not saying be, but what fits, what works, and what doesn't work. And it's just, for me personally, it's always been shocking that I'm so on business stuff and so off on relationship stuff. And I keep thinking to myself, what the hell's the difference? Well, it's emotions. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not saying business and business ventures aren't emotional as well, but I've done it so many years. I've just learned to kind of compartmentalize it or turn it off, right? The black and white, dollars and cents, the plus column, the minus column, that stuff. If I can make a questionnaire like that for real life, I mean, oh, wow, there'd be a lot of people very happy. But I guess it doesn't work that way, But where am I going with this? I'm saying don't try so hard. Is something that I would say, right off the top of my head. The unrealistic expectations is another thing. But one thing that I do want to say is don't forget your boundaries. In other words, I'll say it better. A mentor of mine a long time ago said that when you can least afford qualifications, that's when you have to put them in. And if you think about that for a second, that kind of like makes sense, on a lot of things in life, not just relationships. A lot of times people will settle. Now, I can't go into all the problems that, I'm working with a lot of people, right? And you find a lot of different circumstances, and
Yeah.
God bless them. I mean, I have them at times too. So I'm not saying, ooh, I'm perfect. I'm not perfect, but a lot of them are a result of settling,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I know this isn't right. I know this isn't the right thing for me to do, but we have this together. The kids are too young. They haven't gone off yet. That they have 2 more years, or if I'm not with this person, then I can't continue my lifestyle because I don't earn as much. This could be man or woman, by the way. Okay, that's settling, and sometimes you don't even realize it. Well, what happened to those qualifications that you had such a long time ago? What happened to if you look back, and I could say this because I'm older, but you look back in your early 20s, you know what I mean? You knew right away. You either like the person, you don't like the person. You either want to go on a date or you don't. I mean, it was just, you never said, well, I don't really want to go out on a date, but I really like them, or, they'll take me to a great restaurant, or I could probably have a good life with them. That's giving away your standards, right? Your
Yes.
qualifications
Yes.
are gone.
Yes. Yes.
What happened to them? You know what I mean? So anyway, those are the 3 things that came to mind when you brought that up.
I agree with you, because a lot of times people go, well, you know what, I don't want to be alone. It's not nice to be alone. But really, sometimes, another thing my grandmother always used to say, grandmother, she's obviously with me today too, she always used to say, it's better to be alone than to be with someone, or I could say, and I just translated from Italian, is difficult. So it's better to be with than someone that you don't even like. I mean, a lot of times people just go out with people because of the status or whatever it is. And again, because and they devalue themselves. So surely you have to start loving yourself first, have your own values and your own standards, and not just settle. You're right, not just settle just because, oh, I'm alone, and hey, you know what, it would be nice to go out for a good meal at a fancy restaurant.
Yeah, and again, I'm thinking like in the 20s. I'm guessing that still applies. I don't even know, but I mean, when you're in your 20s, I mean, you count your pennies. I mean, and take this person out. Where are we going to go? How much is it going to cost? How much do I have in my let me wash the car. At least that's how I was. You plan the over plan, if you ask me. But you said something that's very interesting. You said it's better to be alone than, and I agree with you. And that's believe it or not, a resonating statement that a lot of people say, right? Now that I am single and I'm not looking, I don't really consider me alone. Maybe that's not a good way to look at it, but I'm never alone. I mean, first of all, you have tons of people to talk to, right?
Right.
Tons of people to meet, tons of people to visit, and enjoy company, commonality, and stuff like that. That's not really alone. I mean, really, the only time you're alone is when you're sleeping. And you close your eyes, you're alone sleeping. So I don't look at it as alone. And that word alone kind of just it's a sad statement, I think, as far as I'm concerned. It's just tough to explain. I mean, I don't really think we're alone. It's just, it depends. You choose. Like if you want to stay home and not socialize and meet anybody, that's your prerogative. But they're not just going to knock on your door.
No.
Right? You have to make yourself available to interact, not just in a romantic way, but just in a social way. If you don't make some steps and strides or an effort to meet people and interact with people, the tendency is, I mean, they're not going to come knocking at your door. They're not going to come to you and say, hey, I've been watching you and I want to talk to you. You want to talk? I mean, it doesn't work that way.
Yes.
So your grandmother's with you today. She's got some sound advice. And you guys
Right.
apparently were very close, right?
Yes, we were. Yeah, and she was very wise. She was very wise. And I don't know, it was because probably some person just mentioned their grandfather today. So I mentioned mine.
Uh-huh.
So that was pretty cool. And I don't know why this came up. But maybe because he mentioned that, and it's about the solitude. I mean, sometimes you just want to be alone because you need to just calm yourself down because there's so many people around you and you're just giving energy and there's too much confusion. Well, that's how I am, and I just need my alone time to just like. So
but alone time's good. Alone time's therapeutic, right? You do your deep dives when you're alone. I mean, that's important.
Yes,
it's just you can't really be alone all the time. I mean, some people can, or they swear by it. They can. I have a friend who has been alone for 5, and I mean alone, like does errands and goes to restaurants and goes to bars and all alone. Comes home, there's just a dog. And I'm not knocking him. Maybe he's a very dear friend, but I couldn't do that. There's no way I could do that. So one day I asked him, and this was when I was going through my freak out, when I was isolated because of the COVID, and I was like, I'm losing my mind, dude. How do you do it? He's like, well, this COVID doesn't bother me because this is the way I've been doing it forever and blah, blah, blah. And I asked him, I'm like, but how do you occupy your day? And he says, well, if I have to go on an errand, instead of, usually you group your errands, right? I'm going to go to the post office. I'm going to go do groceries. I'm going to drop off my dry cleaning. It's all in route.
Yes.
Basically be efficient. Here's what he said he did. And I'm like, He goes to the post office, comes back home, walks the dog. Then he goes to the dry cleaners, comes back home. Then he goes to the grocery store, comes back home. Those errands, that you stretch them out, they fill out the entire day. But I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. This doesn't sound so fun to me. You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, you need to interact with people. But, everybody kind of goes through their thing. And my friend is no exception to the rule. Everybody needs that time. I mean, I was in isolation or solitude when I filed bankruptcy years ago. I was the same way when I got into recovery. I mean, everybody needs that time. Some people will snap back in a month. Some people, it'll take a couple of years. There's no right way to do it. But you have to eventually get back into the game.
Yes.
And socialize. And not, I mean, almost the same way, I'm going to make a friend today. You're trying too hard. I'm going to find the right girl today. You're trying too hard. Just be yourself, and let the over-filtered posts post and all that stuff. I mean, that's not romance. You know what I mean? Eventually you have to meet. You know what I mean? The cyber romance, as far as I'm concerned. To what end?
Yes.
And look who I'm talking to. It's in your book. I'm sorry. But, there's no way I could go 2 years talking to somebody and thinking I'm romantically involved without meeting them. There's just no freaking way I would do it. I don't know how sometimes I think about your book and I'm just like, wow, I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying I could never do that because it's just like, okay, you're there. The only thing keeping you apart is a plane or a drive or, whatever it takes to meet. Eventually you have to meet.
Yes.
You can't just, let me just pop open my screen and just see the love of my life. What?
Yeah, it's not really like that. I think you want it to be, it's that romantic thing again. It's the fairy tales, right? And
Yeah.
but I think also on some level it's also it's almost again it's the fairy tales where you think, oh, maybe if I go, this person can save me. Like, how stupid are you? It's an unconscious thing. And when you realize that, no one's going to save you, right? No one's going to save you. No one's going to help you. Just start doing what you need to do. It changes everything. But I
Yeah.
think on that level, I always think that I know I took a leap of faith, but on some level, I think probably used him to get to where I am here on an unconscious level.
90-Day Fiance.
Right?
That, really? I'm
No,
going for
I'm just saying that
You
now.
could have been on that show, 90-Day Fiance.
Right? But no, but you know what? You pretend to yourself a lot of times, and you and when you meet, it's like, what? But it's okay.
Well, I think people want to see what they want. They want to believe what they want to believe, and they see
Yes,
what they want to see, right?
yes, of course.
And so, if you have I'm going to call it, I don't even know what to call it, online relationship, cyber relationship is what I call it, because it's a virtual woman. You're not real. You're not real. I've never met you, never touched you, I've never hugged you, nothing. I mean, we're just talking, and that's great. That's great for a business meeting. That's great to pass some time. That's great for a visit, especially during COVID. People would play board games and do all this stuff, and there'd be, you see 6 faces on the screen, look like the damn Brady Bunch. I get that, okay? That's cool. But at some point, you're going to have to get away from the screen,
Yes.
and you're going to have to live real life. We're not cyber, we're real people. And you have to have that connection. And so the snippet that you're showing me, like right now, may not be a true and accurate statement of your entire day or life, right? You may have some annoying habits that I don't know about.
Right, right.
That come out later. Almost like a Seinfeld episode, right? It's like as petty as, you see how she eats her peas? She eats them one at a time. I was watching that last night. I was laughing. But
why would that irritate you? Okay, sorry.
Well, I'm just saying that's
I know.
Jerry Seinfeld in an episode. But there are some irritating habits that people find irritating. I can't mention them all. I don't know them, but you certainly don't see those in just a rehearsed setting with a rehearsed conversation. Basically, you'll see it after I close this. Let's just pretend we were next door to each other. I closed this, now I see you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
There may be some habits that you have that I don't like. The only way to get to know a person truly, friend, business associate, or in a romantic thing, in my opinion, is you got to meet them. You got to meet them.
Yes.
And
yes.
It's a lot easier to do this cyber stuff. I get it. You're a lot braver when you do the cyber stuff. You say a lot of things that you would never say in person in the cyber world. Some of the comments are outrageous in the cyber world. That, you see the people, behind the screen, they're like this pit bull barking.
Yeah.
And then you see them in person, and they're just like a little chihuahua.
What's it about?
Be so brave. But they are, because it's a screen. It's not real. And so my fear is in this new age is that we don't get so used to this being real. This is just like a telephone. This is like the old telephones that we had with the long cord. Ours was green. and it had the rotator thing, dial 9, dial 0, it took 5 minutes to dial the damn number. But
Right.
it was just, hey, are you home? Okay, I'm going to ride my bike. Oh, you see what I mean? It wasn't just like, so what are you doing? I don't know. What are you doing? So let's just talk on the phone for hours. It doesn't, you eventually met. This is taking up, obviously I have a lot of stuff going on right now, right? So I can't really count that, but it just floored me the other day. It said, here's your screen time for the week. I'm like, whoa, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
is how long I'm in front of either my phone or my laptop or my desktop or, whatever. And I'm just like, wow, you don't realize it at all.
That's right.
And that's just way too much time to be living in the cyber world. If you're on there social, I mean, if you're doing stuff, if you're a therapist or you're doing in that field, or I'm not going to say one's better than the other, but if it's not in a professional nature, if it's just socializing and passing the time, whether you have a job, you're retired, or you're unemployed, I don't care. If you're spending that much time in front of a computer talking to cyber people, you better get out there and see some real people.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna forget how to interact with people. You know what I mean?
Yes, because it's different. It's different.
It's very different. It's very different. How you are in person is not necessarily how you are online.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I don't know all of the people that I interact with. Again, I mean, we're talking, there's a lot of different capacities, but let's just talk about the social thing. I have social friends, and I talk to the social friends often, sometimes daily, or you see their posts or what have you. These social friends, I've never met.
Yeah.
I've never met, right? Is there a desire to eventually meet some of them if you're in the area or whatever? Of course. But I guarantee you it's going to be a different setting. Even if you pal around and joke around, when you're online, when you meet for the first time, even though you've known them for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you're going to be different. You're going to act different. You're going to feel different. You may even feel nervous.
Yes, you probably will, right?
Yeah, that's because you don't really know them. Yeah. And so if we're going to follow your grandmother's advice, it's a real teapot with a real lid, not a fake one, not a cartoon, not a virtual teapot. That's what I would say.
Yes, you have to connect and feel each other, right? Feel each other out. It's important, but it's it's quite hard now because of virtual, which is great. Like you can. I mean, you on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast. So cool that we speak every week, right? But we're far apart, so it's also that. So you've got a lot of friends, but they're all over the world.
They are all over the world.
It's a big thing to actually get together and meet. And it's also if you wanted to do it, like maybe you don't. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can only say growing up as a kid, my parents would go to Greece to see their relatives and my grandparents, their parents, every year, almost every year. And every year we'd go to Greece, and that's how they saw each other. My dad's brother, who lived on the East Coast, we lived in the Midwest at the time. They'd make it a point to see each other 2 or 3 times a year. Either one drove to, with the other, or, vice versa, whatever. She made it a point to meet. Now it's different. We're talking about continents, okay? Right. And I get that. But the majority of the people, family, close friends, and stuff like that, you have to make an effort to eventually meet, I think, or just understand that this is a online relationship. Because we started off like that. How do you know you're going to find the right person? When are you going to find the right person? And I'm saying as much as our horizons have broadened to show us millions and millions of more people that we're exposed to that we can talk to. You know, you gotta eventually just come to the understanding that unless you really physically meet them, you ain't gonna have a meaningful relationship, romantic, right? So that's how we started off. That's my comment. Again, this is my opinion, and don't take any advice from me on this subject. Believe me. Business, yes. Personal, not so much.
Okay. On that, so what about business then? So do you think you can, well, can you conduct, because I mean, you obviously do a lot of business meetings online, right? Would it shift the relationship to meet the person and make it stronger or a better business relationship, or does it really matter?
That's a good question. From my experience, nothing will replace the face-to-face meeting. Forget about making it better. It condenses what I need to do. I mean, like what it'll take me to try and explain in an hour. I can feel the other person out and get my point across to the point where we know we're gelling in less than a minute. So you want to talk about efficiency? You'll never be able to replace that. Not in my lifetime, anyway. I don't think. But you can conduct business online. You don't necessarily have to meet the person you're doing business, but there's a whole different set of circumstances that comes with it. Because again, it's nice to like the person that you're doing business with. It's great to connect emotionally as friends, or you have common, activities that you do that aren't associated with business. But in a business setting, it's all business. Now, am I going to be boring? No, I'm going to crack jokes. I'm going to be me. I'm not changing. But the point is as lighthearted and as funny as I think I may be at the time, I'm still holding you accountable to profit or loss.
Yes.
Startup, deadlines, contracts, all the things that I expect that are in black and white, right? And I'll hold you accountable. You can understand, you can give leeway, you can amend, you can redo, but you don't just dismiss in business. It's very unforgiving that way. Now, in a relationship, a personal relationship, it's a little bit different, isn't it? Because we are forgiving and we are truly loving, and we do come with a whole set of complicated emotions. And it's harder to pinpoint and hold somebody's feet to the fire, as they say, right? As in a relationship, as it is in business. So I can do a lot of global business. I do it now. I do it every day, right? But the best and longest lasting relationships that I've ever had in business are the ones where, believe it or not, I do business with them maybe a year or something like that. And then all of a sudden I'd meet them, and then the business got stronger. There are others that I would make it a point to meet once a week, even for an hour. I'd fly in, meet them for an hour, fly out. And it was always a different day of the week. So they never get used to their one day. It's different for different people. But again, business is different for me. I look at it differently. So did that answer your question?
It did. But now I want to go back That makes a lot of sense. But what you said something about relationships being different. Surely at the beginning of a relationship, and like you can't, I'm just saying things because I'm not an expert really at this anyway. But surely at the beginning of the relationship, you'd have like almost expectations from each other, right? So you'd have boundaries and you'd understand where the relationship's going in some way or form. I'm just saying, I'm talking as I'm saying, I'm just thinking these thoughts out. And also for me, a romantic relationship is also one where you grow together anyway. So once you're together and you're not growing, or she's not growing, or he's not growing, or whatever it is, then you have to reel each other in. So you have to be accountable at on some level as well in a romantic relationship. Surely, you agree on certain things. So it depends on what you agree. So do you agree on a monogamous relationship? I mean, you're together. You don't want him running off or her running off, unless you do. So it's those like subtle things that you agree with. So it almost is a contract without being a contract. And I'm not saying marriage. I'm not talking marriage at all. I'm just talking.
I mean, look, we're probably the two worst candidates to talk about successful relationships, right? But just you talking, I look at a relationship as a compromise. It's give and take.
Yes, yes.
The perfect relationship would be an ever-evolving compromise.
Yes, yes.
Right? To get to the perfect united coupling, let's put it that way, right? In business, it's not so much a compromise. Some people are, but we're talking about me. I can't talk about anybody else. I have something in my head. I want it done that way. I'll understand if it doesn't get there and it's here instead of there. I'll understand that stuff. But you're not going to sway my opinion or my view of what I see in my head. Okay? If you feel so strongly about it, open up your own and do it your way. But in Dino's world, it's Dino's world, business-wise, right?
Yes, yes,
this is what I'm thinking. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to get.
Yes,
there is no give and take. There is no compromise. And it is an unforgiving world. But that's what makes it successful. It's emotionless data that I'm following. The only emotion that I have is my vision. That's I don't get fueled by other people swaying me and pulling me and giving me their opinions. Okay?
Yes.
Now, in a relationship, at least the ones that I've been in, I'm driven by a strong feeling that, let's say, I have for this person. But I'm also easily swayed by what others say. Are you sure? Oh, don't do that. I mean, there was, I won't say which one, but, going down the aisle, a friend of mine is like, are you sure you want to do this? You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is just horrible stuff. But, I wish in some ways a lot of people would do that. It's just like do the preemptive strike instead of the after I told you so. But in a personal relationship, a romantic relationship, at least for me, you listen to some of those opinions and you sway. And because you love them, you'll understand, or you'll be, you'll get off guard, you'll get off center, you'll get out of focus. All the things that never happened to me in business. And that's, I mean, the person that can master both worlds, in my, mind, would be a rock star. Relationships, at least for me, have been extremely complicated because, you're talking about a person who doesn't work a 9-to-5 job. I never did. You don't turn it off. There's always something going on. There's always a meeting. There's always a call. There's always an issue. There's always something. It's almost like you're married to your work, right? Doesn't mean the wife comes second. It just means that, it's part of who you are. So for the person who's with me, these are things that they should have been looking at, in the beginning, not after the fact. Because, when you hear you've changed, not really. It's just what you decided to finally see may not be what you saw in the beginning. And that's generally how it works. But again, two of the worst people to give marital advice to, as far as I'm concerned. But it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun breaking it down like.
Yes, I just want to say one more thing. That's why it's important because what happens a lot of times is that the woman, and I'm talking a woman because I'm a woman, not like gets involved with someone and then just like loses herself in this relationship, which is, of course, not what I profess to say, right? Like you don't define me. So that's why you've got to be okay with yourself before you get into it. You've got to be okay with yourself. You've got to have your own life so that you can have your life, I can have my life, and then together we can have the relationship, right? So it doesn't matter if you're working all the time, because, you're not going to work all the time. And I'm just using because we're here. You're not going to work all the time, all the time, all the time. There'll be times when you'll be very, very busy and times when you won't be busy. And you have to have a dance between the two of you so that you can build the relationship, but also keep each other, keep yourselves intact, right? So you'd be you, you'd be me, I'd be me, you'd be you, and then you'd have the relationship. What do you think?
I don't. I don't know. I have zero experience and comment on that one. I just don't know. It's never happened. Doesn't mean it won't. It just means my experience, that's never been the case. It's the equivalent of, in today's viewpoint and some of these funny posts, going to dinner with somebody who never talks to you and is always looking at their phone, where everybody says, "Oh my God, that's annoying. Put your damn phone down." It's kind of probably the same way that somebody feels like I wouldn't like it. I know I wouldn't like it. But I wouldn't like it right up front. It wouldn't take me a year or two to figure out I didn't like it. And that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Where you almost feel like you're on the game show, like Beat the Clock. Okay, I have some time for you. Entertain me or talk to me or whatever. Oh, wait, hold that thought. I'll be right back. And the attention. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. There's a lot of people who can do it. I have no experience in it, so I really can't comment on it.
I was just tough things come into your head.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so what would okay, I'm not going to ask that question because it would be like, okay, what would your ultimate advice be to someone out there? And you're going to say, hey, I don't have any advice. You can't ask me. So I'm not going to ask you the question.
Yeah, I don't have any advice. I prefer to stay out of this one. I don't know. Ask me business advice. I'll give you advice all day long. But I can't advise somebody on something that I haven't gone through myself successfully. And so I have no comment. The only thing that I will say is you started off saying that there is a lid for every teapot. Good advice. I agree. However, it's just a different world with a whole new set of circumstances and challenges. And the only thing that I will say, if this whole show was meaningless, the only thing I will say is that don't fall in love with the image you see, right? Get out of the cyber world and experience real life with real people on a real planet that we still have today.
Yes.
So that to me is seriously a lesson, because you could get trapped all day long with people. I mean, gorgeous posts, gorgeous pictures, beautiful people. They're all having fun. there's never a sad person. They're all just enjoying life. And especially now, everybody's on vacation and they're posting things of the different places that they're at and the food and the drinks and all that stuff. And it's all great, but it's just a snapshot. It's just a moment in time, a blip. Get to know the real person behind the picture, the real person. And make that a meaningful relationship, whether it's romantic or just a friendship or business or what have you. That advice I will give. How's that?
That's very good advice, because yes, it's easy. It's much easier to connect with someone on that level.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
very interesting. I enjoyed this. Till next time.
Thank you, Dino. This was a good show. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.